It is so important for all of us to be here today to celebrate the figure of Cristoforo Colombo in New York City. This is not an empty ritual in connection with a federal or state holiday. Neither it is a kind of formality to fulfill for a fading tradition. And this is surely not an action against anybody or anybody's feelings. Actually, this celebration today is more important than ever, in front of repeated attempts to cancel it. Indeed, this celebration should become an occasion to remind and explain to all New Yorkers why Columbus is still so important for Italian Americans, and ultimately, he belongs to all Americans. It should be left to historians the complex task of reconstructing historical facts and characters. We don't have the presumption to say that everything about Columbus was good. Columbus was a figure of his times, with a mission of his times, which was to serve the interests of the Spanish Empire and evangelize the world. We could argue for hours whether he technically discovered the American continent or whether slavery technically was already there, the same continent, long before his arrival, and whether it did more good or more harm, etc. and etc. But here, I want to rather focus on what it is really hard, actually impossible, to contest. Columbus was a bold and visionary explorer whose feats laid the foundations of a bridge between the old and the new world, changing the destiny of humankind forever, and leading to what we call today a global and globalized world. And it is hard to contest that symbolically and historically, Columbus contributed to the foundation of America, as President Biden recently affirmed. And there is something else that nobody could and should call into question. The origin of Columbus Day is linked to the largest mass lynching of American history, which took place in 1891 in New Orleans against 11 Italians. The proclamation of a National Columbus Day by then President Harriman was a way to recognize the Italian role and contribution in the United States. This very statue behind us was built up a year afterwards, in 1892, to commemorate the 400th anniversary of Columbus landing on the new continent. And it is hard, actually impossible, to contest that for millions of Italians, immigrants, following the path of Columbus, centuries after him, to fulfill their American dream, Columbus became a symbol of pride and recognition, and a bridge toward the new country in front of widespread discrimination, prejudice, and sometimes hatred. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody here is willing to ignore or minimize the history of oppression and exploitation against the indigenous people in the wake of the discovery of America. And nobody can call into question the suffering imposed upon indigenous people throughout centuries. However, what we cannot accept, it's a sort of zero-sum logic which put the Italian-American heritage and indigenous people's heritage one against the other. What has made this country so great, a model for the whole world, and a beacon for migrants across the globe, is indeed its diversity. America is made of different ethnic communities and cultures, and each of them have proudly contributed to building its prosperity. As we recognize the legitimate grievances and narrative of indigenous people, we demand and expect the recognition of the Italian-American heritage and narrative. And let me say that we fully understand the frustration and bitterness of Italian Americans who see a symbol of their spirit, their integration, their heritage, turn into a symbol of evil. Let me conclude by quoting the words of President Biden. in his very recent proclamation of Columbus Day. The hard work, dedication to community and leadership of the Italian Americans in every industry make our country stronger, more prosperous, and more vibrant. The Italian American community is also a cornerstone of our nation's close and enduring relationship with Italy, a vital NATO ally and European Union partner. To those words, I wish only add how proud Italy is of the Italian Americans, of their role and contribution within the American society, and how Italy praises the Italian Americans' unwavering bond to their land of origin. And finally, how Italy is proud today to celebrate its culture and heritage. Thank you very much. Viva l'Italia, God bless America.